Hey everyone, so today I'm going to be testing and reviewing Toro's entire line of battery-powered 60-volt yard tools. Now, Toro provided these to me to test over a few weeks during my fall cleanup, and I found this equipment to be both very effective and very durable. Definitely as good as its gas-powered equivalent without having to mix fuels and without the noise of gas-powered equipment. Now, these products are available individually as either tool only or as a kit. So if you already have a bunch of product, you can get tool only to save some money, or as a kit, you can get them with batteries and chargers. Now, what's nice about this line is any of the 60-volt batteries will fit any of these tools. So if you're looking to save a little bit of weight, you can run their small 2 amp hour battery, or if you have a lot of work to do and you want to do it off one battery, you can run their large 7.5 amp hour battery. And they have different chargers for the different kits. Some of them will have the 1 amp hour chargers, some of them will have the 2 amp hour chargers. And any of the batteries will fit any of the chargers. So everything is perfectly interchangeable. Now I'm gonna go over all of these items individually. They all are a very similar, durable construction and all feature very efficient brushless motors. So I'm going to go over them individually, explain what's involved in putting them together when you get them out of the box, and show every one of them being used. All right, up first is going to be the Toro 60-volt cordless blower. When you get it out of the box, the only thing that has to be attached is the blower tube, which is held in place by this quick release. So if you want to take it apart for transportation or storage, it's very simple. This is a nice, compact, simple design. Obviously on the top you have your handle as well as a forward grip, which is nice for using this in tighter, more compact areas. On the bottom of the handle you have the trigger, on the side a cruise control, and on top your turbo button, which gives you a significant boost in power. On the back you have the battery, and any of the batteries will fit in here, even that large 7.5 amp hour battery. It's held in place with a simple quick release button, and then it comes right out. Obviously, one of the biggest questions on these is going to be your run time, which can vary significantly. With a smaller battery like this, using it on high, you're probably looking at about 15 minutes of run time. If you're using the turbo button a lot, you're probably going to drop that to about 10 minutes. Now, I have found that it works very well on high for small debris when you're doing cleanups after you cut the lawn, things on your driveway, cleaning off porches, things like that. Once the leaves start to pile up, like here during the fall cleanup, typically you have to go to the turbo button. So usually I'll use a little bit of a larger battery to extend my run time. So let me go ahead and show you this thing in action. Up next is going to be the cordless 60-volt string trimmer. When you get it out of the box, you take the lower shaft and push it into the clamp. It's held in with this detent pin, and you have 2 bolts on the bottom. The handle gets attached as well as this shield, and all the tools needed to fix all this is provided in the box. A very common design. It has a traditional bump head on it, so if you need more string, you can just bump it on the ground and it will release more. This head will fit either 080 or 095 string, and it came loaded with 095. So you'll notice there's an arrow here as well as an arrow here. If you line them up, you can feed it in through this line in mark here. You basically put the string in here. You pull an even amount through both sides, turn this counterclockwise to wind it. So you don't have to take the head apart like most string trimmers. It's just available as both a 14 and 16 inch version with this cutter. It comes set up for 14. I'd recommend taking this off, flip it 180 degrees, put it back in, so you have a larger 16 inch cutting width on it. You have a nice aluminum shaft that holds the whole thing together, so it has a nice sturdy feel. On the handle, you have a safety on the top, and the trigger is on the bottom. You also have 2 speeds, 1 and 2, so low and high, and then the battery is held on the back, and it has this button as a quick release to pop it out. This unit is very well balanced. That's what I like about this, having the electric motor on the front and the battery at the back. It's nice and evenly balanced, and it feels very light. This isn't as high demand of a tool as some of the other ones, so a smaller battery is pretty efficient. You should be able to complete all your weekly trimming on a smaller battery like this. And what I have found is low speed 1 is more than enough for the typical trimming you're going to do usually before you cut the lawn. More than enough power. You definitely don't need level 2. Level 2, I did some brush clearing with it, and it had a tremendous amount of power. I went into the woods behind my house and cleared out a few spots, and it did a fantastic job. Toro also has their 60-volt chainsaw that came fully assembled right out of the box. A very traditional chainsaw layout. You have your bar oil on the front, and the cap flips up, so it's easy to get off without the need of a wrench. Handle wraps around 2 sides for a nice positive feel, and then you have your safety brake on the front. Battery quick release on the top. You have a safety button, and then the trigger that allows you to start the saw. On the far side, you have two bar nuts that hold it together, and then in the center of the bar nuts you have the adjuster for the chain tension. So a very simple, common layout. And one thing they did that I wish more companies would do is they incorporated a spot in the back of the handle for the wrench. So you don't need to remember to grab the wrench when you're going to use the saw. Now, obviously something like this, runtime can vary significantly. This tends to be a pretty power-hungry tool, especially if you're cutting large pieces of wood. So it's a good idea to have at least a few small batteries or at least a couple of large ones. I push this saw to the limit in my wood cutting area, and I use this thing to its absolute maximum capacity, and it did very well. And having this thing be electric, it was a pleasure using something that was so much quieter than a traditional chainsaw. Toro also has their 60-volt Hedge trimmer that comes fully assembled right out of the box. This is a very traditional layout as well. What's nice on this is it has two safeties on this. You have a safety on the forward handle and a safety on the rear handle. Both safeties have to be engaged in order for this to operate. So this is very safe. This is going to keep your hands away from the knives as this is cutting. Also on the rear handle, you have this blue button that allows it to twist 90 degrees. So when you're doing those vertical cuts, you don't have to twist your wrist. And then on the back, quick release, and then the battery hangs off the bottom, so any battery will fit. Again, I like the safety aspect of this, having two safeties on it to keep your hands away from the knives, and the 24-inch knife section means it's much more effective, much more efficient. You can make much less passes with this much larger knife section. Toro also has their 60-volt edger that has a very similar assembly to their string trimmer. So when you get it out of the box, you put the lower shaft assembly into the clamp that's held in with a detent. 2 screws tighten it down, attach the handle, and you're ready to go. And the tools are provided with it. Battery is held on the back, similar to the string trimmer. Safety on the top, trigger on the bottom, and this has 1 speed. It's all held together with a nice aluminum shaft. On the working end of this, you have a single wheel that is adjustable for different depths depending on what you're cutting. Aluminum housing for the motor, and then you have this steel cutting blade. Very similar to other edgers. Have the safety shield on the back. So this is something that obviously doesn't get used nearly as much as some of the other equipment, but it's nice to have this. Having this in electric means that that's 1 less engine to maintain, especially for something that doesn't see quite as much use as a lot of other yard tools, but this is also very effective on this platform. And finally, you have Toro's 60-volt 8-foot pole saw. This has 3 aluminum shaft assemblies held by 2 separate clamps, so 1 detent pin and 2 screws. Once you tighten them down, the shaft is fully assembled. On the back, you have the mount for the battery with the quick release on the rear. Safety that allows you to engage the cutting head. Obviously, the cutting head is on the opposite end, which helps to balance out the weight. Just like on the chainsaw, you have a cap for your bar oil that flips up without the need of a wrench. Sight glasses on the side. Now, when you get this out of the box, you do have to put the bar and chain on. Very simple to do. This has basically a wing nut that holds the whole assembly together, so you don't need a wrench for this. So real easy to take off and clean when you're done. This is a little power hungry depending on what you're cutting and how long you're going to be going for. You can definitely use the small batteries with this, but depending on how much work you're doing, it's not a bad idea to have at least a couple of small batteries or 1 big one. I use this for some larger items, and it worked very, very well. All right, so final thoughts. This is a very effective set of yard tools. This is what I consider to be a prosumer level of equipment, where this is not cheap and flimsy, but this is not the cost of commercial equipment. There's a lot of conveniences to using electric yard tools like this. The performance is there. You're not mixing fuels. There's no trips to the gas station, no emissions, and it is significantly quieter. So I've been very impressed with this equipment over the last few weeks when I've been utilizing it. I was a little skeptical of some of this electric stuff, but it has definitely proved to be up to the task for residential. And for commercial users out there, a lot of states and townships are starting to regulate the use of gas-powered equipment. So as you start to look for electric, this is definitely a line that you should take with serious consideration. So I hope everyone enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.